Hello and welcome to The View from the IDB. I'm joined by Peru's Finance Minister, Alonso Segura, who is also the bank's Finance Minister of for the Americas. And we have here your prize, which is embodied by Brendan Bracken, the founder of the banker. And the bank obviously now is, this year is 90, so Brendan Bracken was the founder of the magazine, so we have him here. Representing your award for you, yes, so almost in person. So thank you very much for your time. This is obviously a very delicate moment for Peru. We are having presidential elections just in a couple of days. So we don't know which administration will drive the country in the future, but we do know what this administration has done to fund, in particular, future budgets. So I would like you to explain a bit more about the pre-funded activities that you've done, and then we can talk about your views for the future.
Yes. Well, first, thanks for the interview. Yes, we've taken several capital markets operations in order to leave the next government in a very comfortable position in terms of the funding of the budgets. As of now, we have pre-funded the 2016 budget, but also we have pre-funded fully the 2017 debt service. And we are way ahead in terms of that funding strategy. We have also concerted some very large contingent credit lines with multilaterals, with the World Bank in particular, for over $2.5 billion, which is about 1.25% of GDP, which are not part of the funding strategy per se, they're contingent in nature. So basically the incoming authorities will have a very comfortable position going in. Which was the idea since the last year and a half. No?
And this is something that has really characterized Peru as a country that has reformed and taken preventative steps when the times were good. And now that the times are not as good because of the declines in commodity prices and lower demand for raw materials, the country is in a position to support its developments. But there are still obviously many things, many areas that I know you would like to reform. And I would like you to explain what particular reforms you would like to see happening in the future in the financial services sector.
Yes, of course. We are in a world that is quite uncertain, I would say, at this point. So always the strategy has been to move ahead and to leave in as much as possible degrees of freedom from the next authorities. Regarding the financial system and the capital markets in general, we've also conducted several actions in order to deepen first the capital markets and then to have a very strong financial system. They are being implemented right now. We modified the capital gains taxes, for example, for capital markets. We created a market makers mechanism. We introduced stock lending, short selling. So there are several actions there to promote liquidity in the capital market. As you know, you have a better chance of developing in general capital markets if you have both capital markets and the financial system moving hand in hand. In terms of the financial system in Peru is very, very solid. We are compliant with Basel III basically, and our standards, our domestic standards, are above the standards for Basel III, so we have a very solvent and liquid financial system. Now, what needs to be done in a financial system like the Peruvian one? We are still a country that has a very large informal sector in many dimensions. One of them is in the financial sector, or in the ways with which both companies and people access to credit. So we need to find creative instruments by which we can access through the formal financial system to different agents that have not been penetrated by by the system. We have recently launched, we had been working for over, I think, 2 years in the electronic money available to basically everyone in the population, which is our model is, I think it's a model for what needs to be done elsewhere, because it's a platform that involves all the institutions that want to participate in the financial system, basically all banks and many other financial institutions have participated, and all the telecom companies. So it's a universal platform for electronic money through cell phones. That was launched, we talked about this a few months ago in the IMF meetings in October. Told you it's going to be launched by the end of the year. It was actually launched in January, so it's up and running. I think that might revolutionize the way financial system approaches, people are now in absolute informality. There's a goal of reaching, I think, 1 million customers within a year or something like that. That's more of a private-public goal, but I think there's a great potential there. We are still a partially dollarized economy, so I think it's also a work to be done for the financial system to develop long-term funding in soles, which is the part that is more dollarized. So there are things that we need to develop, but we have a very dynamic financial system and a very solid financial system.
And something else that has been playing to the advantage of Peru for the past few years has been its membership to the Pacific Alliance. So the Pacific Alliance is obviously the group of countries represented by Peru, Chile, Colombia, and Mexico as well, who have come together and have created a trading bloc, as well as a stock trading system, the MILA. So how much do you think that the Pacific Alliance as a bigger area will attract investment, especially now that the biggest economy and market in Latin America, Brazil, is severely underperforming?
I think it's crucial. If I had to mention one advantage the Pacific Alliance brings to all its members, but particularly to Peru because we're the smallest one of the four, is scale, more visibility. We are the fourth highest rated countries in the region. We are the countries that have a clear development model based on macro stability, but have done a long time the right microeconomic reforms, and particularly in the capital markets. Some of us might have underdeveloped capital markets, but they are pointing in the right directions. As you mentioned, the integrated market in Latin America, integrated market between the four countries of the Pacific Alliance, it started as a secondary equities trading mechanism, but now it involves IPOs as well. And the regulators of the different countries have been standardizing the methodologies to allow for trading of other types of instruments. For example, Peru and some other countries already, on a bilateral basis, have already approved that if there's any fixed income instrument has been approved by any regulator in any of the countries of the Pacific Alliance, it is automatically accepted in Peru for trading. Those are the type of initiatives we're launching so that investors can come, we can crowd in investors because transaction costs have been reduced and they know that they are recognized across the Pacific Alliance. So yes, it's core to our strategy to be perceived as a bloc.
Okay, so perhaps in these moments it may become of even greater importance for investors looking at Latin America.
Yes, and just as a signal, last month I think it was, yes, the four ministers of finance of the Pacific Alliance, we conducted meetings with investors in New York, and it was the first time that the ministers of finance, on an active basis, we programmed our agendas and we made an event basically to promote the Pacific Alliance to crowd in investments with no other additional agenda side. Not that we have the spring meetings and we meet with investors, not that we have the IDB meetings and we meet with investors. It was specially designed to go speak to investors and say, you know what, we're a bloc, we're doing the right things, and we're getting tightly close together. In terms of trade, the agreement we have to reduce barriers to over 93% of our products goes into, it's going to be active on the 1st of May.
So a deadline that is coming up. So we have elections on the 10th of April. From a political side, we don't know what's going to happen in the near future, but it sounds like the basis for solid growth are here to stay, and I know that you forecast that this year the country will grow at around 4%, so still a relatively good growth ratio. So thank you again for your time. Congratulations again on your awards, and let's continue and enjoy our IDB meeting this year in Nassau. Thank you again.